There's a whole entryway. It's almost like they made sure not to have this in a piece of shit venue.
All right. Welcome to FaBled Hunters.
I'm Yuanji.
I'm Saint.
And we're back at it again for another episode of Last Month Today. A lot of things have happened in the world of TCGs in this last month. It's the beginning of, the summer. And I thought we would just ease into it first by talking about some of the other TCGs, and then we'll talk about
for sure.
Flesh and Blood. So, Old Faithful, Magic the Gathering.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Quite a lot of things have happened. I haven't been super up to date on everything that's been going on in Magic, but there are some things that I thought that we should talk about. You said that you had some thoughts on kind of the latest releases for like March of the Machine's Aftermath.
Yeah, it felt like March of the Machine was okay, but then there was that whole Pinkerton scandal, right?
Yeah, we talked about that on the last episode.
Yeah, but then after the Pinkerton scandal, because Aftermath was such a small set, it just dipped. It went down, and literally stores were liquidating and losing tons of money. Like they were losing 20 to 30% from wholesale. But then they kind of recovered. But even after they dropped as low as like $45, $50 a box, they went back to 70. And I got some of that info from Rudy, for example. It's like, oh, $70. Since when is $70 for a Magic box supposed to be a win? That's still losing money after. Yeah. But like the fact that it's not as bad as it was seems to be good. So Magic needs some help right now. They need some help on their new sets as well as vintage Magic, which is my area. That really needs some help. That asset class is in trouble right now.
I think this is a case of kind of like chickens coming to roost, and we've seen this trend happen for like a lot of Magic sets. Where I think it's ever since they started going down, the collector booster, set booster, like whatever route.
Yeah.
It's like, and they keep, it's funny because they keep trying to find like new ways to separate the products even more. Like you remember when they did like Midnight Hunt, like the cinema, like black and white.
Oh god, like, the double feature.
Yeah,
something weird.
And it's just like they keep trying to make like newer and newer products, or like differentiated products. And I just can't help but feel that this is just the work of somebody who has like an MBA degree, who like did all this like theoretical work, like studied how like this works in other industries without having experience in trading card games, then trying to apply the same things. How like they have, I don't know, for like if you do like makeup or like whatever, like these types of like, you find like something you like appeal to all the niches. Well, like the thing is like trading card games is already kind of like a niche product.
It is. And
so to just like further divide, like it's just like you're cannibalizing your own sales, and this is what you get, right?
They are, and this is what you get. This is when I think this is what Rudy was saying, like the ivory tower executives that don't have any sense about what's going on, and that's why you get people like Cynthia Landwell Williams, where she's just literally reading the definition of Magic the Gathering off of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's all these MBA people, these corporate finance people that all they care about is monetizing. All they care about is how much of this product can I shovel down the throats of the players, of the masses, of Gen Pop MTG collectors. And Gen Pop MTG collectors, I think they're getting quite fed up. But for the current Lord of the Rings giga hype, right?
Yeah, so we did want to also talk about Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings, I think there's two things that came up. First, let's talk about I guess like the marquee card of the set, the One Ring in like the Elvish, whatever, full art, extended.
Yeah.
However, so it's like a 1/1 serialized card.
Yep.
And all of kind of the craziness that came up with it, I've seen a lot of things on the internet. So there was like the original, there's like the $1 million offer. I know PCG offered, like, if you grade it with PCG, they'll fly you to
plus like $100,000 or $200,000. And even before that, there was, I think, Dan Bach, who's, you know, personality on social media in MTG. He was like, oh, well, you know what? I'll pay you $100,000 for the ring, or I'll pay you $50,000 if we both travel to Hawaii and throw it into a volcano or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then it was this whole sequence of one-upsmanship. I think Cassius Marsh got involved, and then somebody outbid Cassius Marsh, and then he came back with a video saying he wanted to offer $500,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like $1 million, and now there's some store in Europe offering $2 million.
Like Grimoire de Dragones or something like that in Spain.
Yeah,
right?
and you know,
2 million euro. That's like 2.15 million US dollars for a card that literally got printed in the past 90 days.
And you see like all this, like that, this is just like one aspect of it, but I've also seen other things where it's like people are trying to start like money money pools to purchase the One Ring or to get it to like sell to these things. And you know what this reminds me of? It's just like every time you create something like this, you're just like generating avenues for people to explore like their greed. Like you see this in crypto. I'm sure like historically there was like other kinds of crazes. There was like stamps, Beanie Babies.
Yeah, Tulip Mania.
Tulip Mania is like one of like the original case studies.
Yeah.
But it's just like every time you create this just like artificially scared, like people just go crazy over it, and it's all like fake. Like who's actually like going to buy this in the end? Exactly.
Weren't there some rumors that the recent local game store in Spain was not fully reputable or credible? I mean, and it's not a very large location.
And I can't say because I don't have firsthand like experience with them, but it's just like I know that there's a lot of stores, there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of individuals that are just piggybacking off of this kind of event
just for attention.
Yeah, for attention. For marketing, for whatever, like, and it's just like I feel like it's just like a very polarizing thing. Plus, if they ever, I just can't help but feel like if they ever make another like 1/1 serialized card in the near future, it's just like what are you guys all doing?
Well, during the Brothers' War, wasn't the speculation at one point like, oh, this is really, really special serialized cards, and then didn't they redo serialized cards in March of the Machine? And now they
have like Worm Coil Engine out of 500. And it's just like, come on, like
it's already getting to be like so what, right? Like Ultimate Masters, the full art box topper was amazing, and then 2-3 sets later, it's like okay.
Yeah, and so I wanted to tie this into, you know, Dust to Dawn has serialized cards, and we talked about this already a little bit. I think the most important thing, like when you do something like this, is that if it feels special, it has to be special.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
So
there's 10 unique arts by Olivia Prima plus Federico Musetti. So the artists are literally producing additional unique pieces of hand-drawn art. It's not artificial scarcity, it's literal art pieces. It has no impact on the game. It's got collectability because they're literally selling artwork, right?
Honestly, to me this is also like a learning lesson for LSS. Obviously serialized cards are gonna be a draw for people to buy your product, right? It's like no brainer. Like, you know, this is like people are going to buy your product for this kind of thing, but it's how you steward that information. Like if they do it sparingly, like maybe every 5 years, whatever, you do like another, like that feels more genuine.
Not a set per quarter.
Every set.
It's so far, it felt like since Brothers' War, it's been one set with serialized cards per quarter that they just charge an exorbitant amount of money for, and then the same serialized cards that were selling for $1,000 or $1,500 in Brothers' War, it seems like they're just not of really high interest because there's too many special things, and you get back to the whole if everything is special, nothing is special type of mindset, right?
Yeah, I wonder like what the breaking point will be for collectors. Like, how many times do you have to get fleeced to be like, oh, like I guess like these serialized cards aren't that special.
And I've said early on in Fabled Hunters, even before the first serialized Magic the Gathering card was released, that it felt like every single time I bought a premium set, I felt like Charlie Brown going for the football and Lucy just, rug pulling the football and me falling on my ass. And I'm like, if you've got at least average intelligence, you're not going to fall for it too many times. And then obviously there's still, members of the Magic player base that are out there spending money and giving Hasbro their money. And I mean, just look at the cap table of Hasbro. It's owned by BlackRock. Hasbro's largest shareholder is BlackRock, and you're kind of supporting a certain cause if you give Hasbro your money.
The second Lord of the Rings related like piece of thing, and I think you kind of touched on this sentiment a little bit when we were talking about the Magic 30 event in Las Vegas.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of controversy around the race swapping for Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings set.
Yep.
And Wizards came out with like their statement about it, and there's a bunch of people who are pissed on one side about them changing aspects of a story that they've done in the past, and then there's people on the other side. I want to get your perspective on it, and then I also have kind of my own like opinion on all the stuff that's going on.
It's really funny how the U.S. has changed so much in this past decade. I think like 4 or 5 years ago, Americans and American media was making fun of, for example, China for their social credit score.
Yeah.
Right? You remember that, right?
I do.
And now currently, like I'm the furthest thing from, I'm red, white, and blue all the way. I'm the furthest thing from pro-China, pro-CCP. Yeah. Except here we are, where 3 or 5 years ago, we're making fun of the social credit score.
Yeah.
And now, BlackRock, Blackstone, the World Economic Forum, and Vanguard, State Street, the big asset management firms are out there running these companies and creating a corporate equity index or diversity, equity, and inclusion, and ESG scores, environmental, social governance. It all means the same thing. It all means that they want to pander to that whole woke movement, the woke religion that's out there, and you've got to gain woke points in order to get funded as a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
And your shareholders are those entities, members of the World Economic Forum. And now it's like, okay, wait. Weren't we just making fun of this whole social credit score? And now every single publicly traded company that's, double-digit percentages owned by the aforementioned large asset management companies, now they're bending to the will of these entities that are implementing these social credit scores. So that's why they're race swapping whenever convenient. And that's why you've got, certain beer cans with certain personalities that I heard we're not supposed to mention on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, fuck Bud Light. Okay.
I mean, I think like the way that I view it is just that there is a way that you can address these things that is genuine to the people that you're trying to support. And then there's a way that you can do it, which I think most of these things end up being, which is kind of like the corporate safe, not really like doing the least kind of attitude. And I have some examples. So for all of the hate or whatever that people give either to the people who are upset about the race swapping or to the people who feel like they shouldn't change any of like the elements, I think that for me it is important that you represent diversity, but it's like, how do you do it? How, like, do you create a story that is genuine to like the experiences of the people you're trying to portray? Or do you just change their physical appearance?
Well, that changing their physical appearance is probably the laziest way of forced inclusion. But changing their physical appearance and just bucking actual lore is betraying the people that followed Tolkien, presumably for I think Tolkien's work is almost 100 years old now, right? He was World War One, wasn't he, when he was writing, right after World War One, pre-World War Two, when he was writing The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I think if you... My stance is that if you try... If you want to take on the mantle of, you know, rewriting the story, and you put in the work to create, you know, a cohesive world, if you put in the same amount of work that Tolkien spent, you know, crafting this world, and you do like a reimagining, kind of like I know what's recently been very popular is you know, like Into the Spider-Verse is like
Spider-Man.
It's like a reimagining of the story.
Miles Morales. Nobody's mad about Miles Morales.
Yeah.
It's actually I saw the first, you know, Spider-Man crossover cartoon, and it was great.
Yeah, and I think if you actually put in the effort, and you give like the people that you're trying to present, if you give them the respect that they deserve, and you like actually build a cohesive story. I don't, you know, honestly, like for Magic, I have a hard time believing, especially with how little attention that they're actually giving to like their lore department. I have a hard time believing that they're, you know, giving the same amount of respect to like this effort, and you know, I just find it difficult.
I completely agree with you. Nobody was outraged in Flesh and Blood Monarch when they released Bolton, right?
Right.
Bolton, you know, he's a warrior based on Usain Bolt, and he's a gangster. He doesn't play that well, and he's not that meta because, you know, his moveset is a little weak.
Maybe
right now.
we'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, it's the book is not closed on Bolton, but at least his story was compelling, and he was a cool character.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's where we stand. I don't want to incend any more, but
any more. Where do we start? I was just saying how I feel, and I'm sure the masses, anybody with their head screwed on straight, can, you know, just see what's going on in the world, and see, you know, evil Klaus Schwab wearing his freaking, you know, wizard robe, trying to tell the rest of the world that we're not going to own anything and we're going to like it, and there's going to be a great reset, I think. Something about that at the WEF.
Yeah. This is like very recent, actually. So it's not actually last month, but it's this month.
Well, let's these recent days, I guess.
Yeah. So Magic Con Las Vegas, Huey Jensen, who is the kind of, believe he's like the head of organized play for Wizards of the Coast.
I've heard that name before.
He used to be an ex-pro player. He was played for Channel Fireball. He was a member of
he was the one
really
that
tall.
Yeah. He was the one that traded his unlimited Black Lotus for some sandwich money or something like that, I think. Yeah.
I don't know.
At least that's the story.
I haven't heard of it. That reminds me. I had like a friend who like a long time ago traded like a couple of Bitcoins for like a slice of like a pizza pie or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like these things happen, I guess.
I guess.
But in any case, so he's like a well-respected member in the Magic organized play community.
Less respected now that he traded a Black Lotus for a sandwich and like a Pepsi.
Well,
let's move on.
Still somewhat respected. So he announced recently that at the next Magic Con Las Vegas, there's going to be a Magic limited open. So it's kind of the return for Wizards to, you know, invest in, I guess, like high stakes or like large scale open entry tournaments, similar to, you know, like Magic Fest GPs that they had in the past.
Oh, go on.
And there has been, I've seen a lot of sentiment on both sides for this, where I would say that for all of the people who play competitively that I follow or are in my feed, I think the reaction is overwhelmingly positive that they're supporting these events and they really want to go.
Okay.
But on the other side of it, there's the people like I know my friend David Rood, who runs a store in Canada. He said, kind of tongue-in-cheek, if they're capping the event at 2,000 players, and I believe that after you add in badge fees, so you have to purchase a badge in order to, you know, to enter like the larger MagicCon itself.
Yeah.
Plus the entry fee, it comes out to be about $240 per person. He said they're taking in like 400 and like 16,000 or something dollars, and they're paying out $100,000. And he said Magic GPs are back.
Yeah.
There's a little tongue in cheek, and I wanted to get your take. You know, you went to the last MagicCon Las Vegas.
Oh, it was a con, all right. Yeah.
and I wanted to talk about both aspects. One, Wizards of the Coast returning to, you know, I guess supporting organized play on this level, but then also your feel as a player, a collector, somebody who's in the community of like entering these events that have these like badge requirements.
Well, okay. Let's talk about a feel, because I can trace it back to 94, 95, my loyalty to the competitive circuit of Magic the Gathering, and never since the mid-90s, when Magic started being a competitive game in the U.S., have they ever discontinued competitive play of Magic the Gathering. However, I just want to remind everybody that eventually watches this video that in 2020, 2021, Hasbro voluntarily, they made the conscious decision to discontinue pro play and organized play to save a little bit of money. They put every professional Magic the Gathering player in the world out of a job. They betrayed that whole gathering part of Magic the Gathering, and they tried to corral everybody into MTG Arena. Thankfully, there's a game where they valued people coming together in the Flesh and Blood, right? Flesh and Blood, where these events that were made by Flesh and Blood, these callings, these nationals, these pro tours and worlds, have gathered over 1,000 people together. And now Hasbro's like, oh wait, just kidding about the cancellation. Hey, let's forget that I stabbed you in the back and cheated on you and basically, gave you the middle finger and said, oh, buy these stupid gems and play with imaginary cards on Arena. We want you back. Well, that's what I feel. I just want to remind everybody that eventually watches this that that's what happened. That's what's going down. And now they're crawling back asking for your business at $240 per ticket, which is in itself a ripoff.
Well, I just want to provide some context to this, right? Because it's like, nobody is faulting Wizards for discontinuing events during the pandemic. Obviously, you can't run events when nobody's allowed to go outside. Yeah. But it's about your level of commitment to running. It's like about
they never reactivated. They're like, bye everybody. We're just not doing it anymore. We're trying to save some money.
Yeah, so it's about your level of commitment to this project that you've been spending the last 20, 30 years on, and whether or not you face this obstacle, and then after the hurdle is cleared, are you still committed to it? It's the company has spent the last 30 years, 20 whatever, however
at that time years. It was 28 years or something.
To building up this competitive circuit
and having this reputation that competitive Magic is a thing.
When the coast is clear, do you reaffirm your commitment?
And they did not. They issued press releases saying, we're not going to do it anymore. You can just play Magic on Arena, buy these gems, and that's it. Yeah. No more paper Magic. And that's, if it sounds like I'm salty about it. Well, guess what? I am a little bit, because I played in the 90s, and I was I've been loyal to that brand deep into the 2000s up till about 2020.
Yeah, thankfully I wasn't actively participating in the competitive circuits, during the pandemic. But I can sympathize with the people who were, because I remember. When I was grinding the hardest from 2013 to 2016, and if something like the COVID pandemic had happened after the event's over, I would be really jonesing
Absolutely.
to compete again, and for the company to just turn their back and be like, we're not going to do this anymore. I would definitely feel very lost. It sucks.
And think about the current known players, at least the ones that I know in Flesh and Blood. They all most of them that are very notable came from Magic, right? The exception might be Pablo Pintor, because I think he came from Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
No, he came from Legend of the Five Rings.
Okay, L5R. Well, not Magic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But let's see, yourself
Magic.
plus Michael,
Yeah.
right? Tarek Patel,
Both Michaels.
right? The GOAT Hamilton,
Yeah.
right? Matt Rogers, I think. You look down that list of names, and well over 50% of the known pros today played MTG. Even your buddy, mine not so much, Mr. Folks the heel, he played MTG as well,
Yep.
right? So yeah, like all the big recent winners, that covers literally every Pro Tour and the world's winner, right? And some nationals too.
Yeah, and I think it's like, not to make it like a Magic versus like Flesh and Blood or like any of these other like, but I think that, you know, as somebody who enjoys competing, it's refreshing to see a company, you know, just have like that level of dedication, because like competing in these events, honestly, it's not like great ROI. Like you don't like you're not making like a ton of money doing it, but you do it out of the love for the game, and you do it because you know that the company that is supporting you is like behind it as much as they can be, right?
Sure.
And so I think that means a lot for like the players who are like investing their time, their money to going to all these events.
Okay.
If you have like a game company that's just like whatever about it, it's like, oh, we'll just hold the events, I wouldn't
Sure.
feel as invested
Okay.
in competing. And you see that happening in other games.
Yep. Speaking of other games,
Yeah, you wanted to talk about the Lorcana. So this is a game that still hasn't yet officially released.
Yeah.
But they got into a little bit of hot water with Upper Deck, who has sued them, or not them, not like Disney,
they sued
but
Ravensburger.
yeah,
Yep.
which is the publishing company that is making
of Lorcana.
I did a little bit of preliminary research. I'm not going to claim that I'm the most well-versed on this subject, but I found it one kind of interesting that Ravensburger is, they're not like a TCG company.
They're a board game company.
Yeah, they make board games, they make puzzles, like
Yep.
toys for kids,
Yep,
kinds
yep,
of
yep.
things. And I do wonder how a company like this gets into the business of negotiating a deal with Disney to, you know, like produce a trading card game.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, the allegations on the lawsuit are that, you know, Ravensburger allegedly poached
Yeah.
the person that made this game engine. I forgot what it was called, like some other card game that is licensed with Upper Deck,
Yeah.
unreleased yet.
Yeah.
But he moved that engine, and there's enough similarities between that engine, that game engine, the
Yeah.
game mechanics, and Lorcana that, you know, they believe, Upper Deck believes,
Yeah.
they can prove in court that this individual essentially stole the game engine, slapped a fresh coat of Disney paint on it,
Yeah.
and called it Lorcana. And that's why there's a lawsuit. Right?
Yeah, I don't know how, like, where I stand on this, because I do know that in trading card games there's a lot of copycat behavior, right? Like like a lot of people copy, you know, like different aspects of all of the games that they enjoy. Like everybody's copying like Magic's mana system to some extent.
Not bad.
Well, the fact that there's resources that you have to pay for cards, how do you get those resources? You know,
Oh,
like
that's
somebody
fair.
somebody
Yeah.
could argue in a court of law while they're copying, you have to pay resources for.
Okay.
Like you know, like I think this is true for all creative works. Like nobody just like comes up with like something like out of the blue.
Sure.
And everything is like iterations on like influences. And so I don't know how much I don't know how many games I've seen, for example, that have a one resource cost spell that does 3 damage. And I wonder where they got that from.
Yeah.
And from what I heard and from looking into the Lorcana mechanics, there's like similar aspects, I believe, to Soulforge. I've heard comparisons. I've heard, you know, comparisons to Magic in some ways.
Sure.
And I don't know, like, what do you think like Upper Deck gets out of like do you think that there's like a legitimate gripe here?
I think there's potentially a legitimate gripe, because I've personally been involved in, you know, certain litigations where it's like, hey, some person has worked under Enterprise A, and then they're like, oh, this business idea that I've created under Enterprise A, you know, I could probably make more money if I take it with me to Enterprise B.
Yeah.
And then that happens because people suck, people don't honor their contracts. And then if, Enterprise B, normally if it's only set up and established, Enterprise A wouldn't normally just sue Enterprise B 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 20% of the case where Enterprise B is able to establish something that looks like there's a future, then it makes sense. You got to weigh it out. And right now, I think, call it 2 months, 4 months, 6 months before the official release of Lorcana.
I believe it's coming out in August.
Oh, 2 months?
That's 2 months.
Yeah, whatever it is. Enterprise A, Upper Deck, says, oh, look, we can sue, and it's a good idea to sue because it's going to cost us millions, but if we sue, we can either settle for tens of millions or hundreds of millions, or we'll shut down the game altogether, or we'll buy it back because it's ours and it'll be our game, or we'll get ongoing revenues of that game.
Yeah.
Right? But I would say the former is probably likely. If it's serious enough, the Mouse House is just going to write a big fat check, and Upper Deck is going to go positive ROI on their litigation.
Part of me is like a little bit sad that this is happening because I do think that that Lorcana, like whatever opinions that you have on like whether or not the game looks like it's going to be fun to play or good or bad or whatever, undoubtedly like having like the Disney IP behind it is going to generate a lot more new members of the trading card game community.
Sure.
And anytime I think that you have something like this where it's like an entryway for different people to get involved. People talk a lot about and James White has talked about trying to get more women involved. I feel like like having a Disney IP is going to be more appealing, at least as an entryway for female gamers.
That's fair.
To get into trading card games than like people beating each other up.
Yeah, that's a great communitarian way of looking at it, and
Yeah.
I don't at all disagree. What has ticked me off about Lorcana or Sorcery or Spirits this or Genesis that is that people roll up into our comments in a Flesh and Blood channel and try to shill it, and I'm like, bros, you guys don't even know about the game. Like, you might as well be, hey, look, Michael Johnson helped me make $30 million on crypto last month, and then 50 more comments. It's like, it's such an obvious shill. It's like, the game hasn't come out yet. What are you guys doing? How do you guys know that this game will stand the test of time?
Yeah.
And it's just slightly annoying. Speaking of, okay, is that all you got about Lorcana for now?
Yeah, I think my sentiment on it is just like, I mean, I don't have like a dog in the race. I don't really care like which way it goes, but I would like to see something like this be successful. Anytime I think that you have like a really big IP, I would rather, like, to me, it's more of a benefit to see even like non-Flesh and Blood trading card games be successful than it is to, like, I don't get any enjoyment out of watching other trading card games fail. That's kind of like the rising tide lifts all boats.
Okay, that's fair. Speaking of trading card games failing, at the release of this, it will be like a month plus since our little Genesis episode.
Oh,
and
yes.
Still, I've got a couple of Genesis battle decks collecting dust.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn them, but if you guys force me, I will. I'll burn them and make content out of it. Otherwise, get these off my desk. Somebody claim these damn Genesis decks.
Yeah.
And well, let's move on. Speaking of the not lasting the test of time, we have our next shit sandwich on the menu.
Yeah, there's been I haven't truthfully been following MetaZoo a lot since all of the initial George, Louis, whatever scandal.
Yep.
Within the Flesh and Blood community, I haven't really been paying attention to MetaZoo at all.
Okay.
I do know that recently you showed me off camera there was,
and we made a last month today a little short about it, the mappability of Seance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so you had showed me there was apparently a box opening.
Yep. Oh yeah. Just a couple nights ago, Rudy released a double box opening, and he opened one box, and there were 0 hollow foils. There was only the far inferior reverse hollow foil out of 36 packs, and he's like, oh, these are hand packed. Well, guess what? This second box is from a completely different case, and then the same thing resulted. I have never seen anything like that. That's like a Flesh and Blood box, not only not having cold foils, but not having any Majestics at all. That's worse. That's like, or maybe even like not having any rainbow foils in 2 boxes of Flesh and Blood. Imagine that happened in Flesh and Blood, and imagine that was like a large batch of boxes, a large batch of product. I had already criticized MetaZoo and MetaZoo Mike about poor quality control, which is why what happens. Case in point, when there was the mapability of, oh look, every single art on this pack within this palette has the chase cards, has the Giga foil cards. And that was indeed the case with Sans. But now, even worse than that, there are entire palettes, presumably, that don't even have just good old holo foils. They only have the far, far inferior, minimal foiling reverse holo foils that are worth just a fraction of what the regular holo foil is.
I remember reading the comments for that video. Some people were like, "Oh, this is what true random looks like." If you're asking for true random.
Yeah.
I think ultimately LSS does I think a pretty good job. I actually had a conversation recently with somebody from one of my LGSs that I was playing with, and I asked him, and he's actually a watcher of our channel. He said that we're one of the channels that when he got into Flesh and Blood, he was kind of checking out. And he told me, I asked him, he got into Flesh and Blood, I think about a couple months ago. And I asked him, it's well, what do you really like about Flesh and Blood? And he's an OG, Magic the Gathering. I believe he said he started in Antiquities.
Oh, wow. Around my time, yeah.
And he said, and I think this reflects with your experience as well, that LSS does a really good job of making the packs feel good to open.
Oh, they do.
Where even though obviously we've opened so many dud whatever WTR boxes, but but the fact is that when you open the cards and you do hit something that's really cool and really nice, that you don't feel that they're going to try their best to sabotage you in the future.
Yeah, the packs seem, I don't know if I should use the word fair, but the packs somewhat seem fair. The lows are contrasted by the highs, right? And sometimes, overall, when you look at everything, the highs even surpass the lows. The multiple highs surpass the lows. And, WTR specifically is the most punishing, but it's also got the scarcest assets. Everything after WTR gets more and more rewarding. Arc, I just don't remember nearly as many no cold foil boxes in Arcane Rising. And then Crew, you've got the Krunic as a backup, you've got Cheyenne, you've got all the normal Majestic cold foils, the rare cold foils, you get double, triple cold foil boxes, you've got Twinning Blade, there's just so much more. And then you hit a shard, it feels really awesome, and then there's always more. It's always, you can just enhance that experience. And then every set afterwards, that opening experience seems to escalate. Whereas, MetaZoo, it's art, okay, I don't appreciate the art. Gameplay, I don't know if there are MetaZoo gameplay videos. I've never seen them, and when people talk about the game, I just don't take interest in it. And then the quality control and the intentionality of the publisher, that's the biggest one for me. That's the nail in the coffin. First, a whole set is going to be, a whole print run of a whole set is going to be mappable, and you don't have any recalls, and now you've got randomized boxes where 36 packs of this box don't have any chase foils, which are supposed to be 1 in 3.
Yeah.
Right? And then another 36 packs of another box. I don't know the chances. If there's a 33% chance of pulling, a chase foil, and I simply don't know how that's true randomization, how 72 consecutive packs, that's that's like flipping a coin and missing 72 times in a row.
Independent probabilities.
Yeah, I guess. I'll chalk it up to human incompetence. I prefer to think of, let's implement Occam's razor in this case, right?
Yeah.
For the simplest explanation, that MetaZoo Mike and his cronies were in it for the money to begin with and have no competence whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. MetaZoo is not obviously the focus of this channel.
No, it isn't.
Flesh and Blood, one thing about the RTN season. So we talked about, Pro Tour just happened. RTN is kind of like the follow-up to qualify everyone for Nationals. RTN season just finished. One of the major things that people were curious about for RTN season would be if Briar was going to LL. So we all know that Oldham LL'd.
Yep.
And, Briar seemed like she was very close to the chopping block. I believe she went into the season with like 960 something points.
Like 964 or something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And so in the final weekend of RTNs, I believe she needed like 9 wins or something.
Yep.
To make it. And I have a funny story.
Yeah.
Because one of the RTNs that I went to, and this is just like a little community story.
Sure.
So I had already secured my Nationals invite in our RTN that I went to previously.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like the way that flesh+blood tiebreakers work, you can kind of tell like this event was like 5 rounds. So at the end of 4 rounds, like the top 8 was basically locked. So I'm like locked for top 8. But on the 5th table, so like people basically playing to bubble, one of my friends was playing and she had not, secured her Nationals invite. So I played my match. And then I thought about it, and I just decided to drop from the tournament.
Okay.
And by dropping from the tournament, I'm like creating a spot for for her to make top 8, and then try to like get a Nationals invite.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about this, not to like pat myself on the back, but to talk about I think one of the things that got a lot of people into flesh+blood in the first place, and that is the idea of of community and how important it is that we like uplift each other within the community.
Yeah.
Because I've played competitive Magic, and competitive Magic, it's a very different vibe where all the PTQ sharks and grinders, they're just out there to try to eke out like every little bit of like value from you. And I think that as somebody, if you're in the community, I would like let's say you're one of the players that like more consistently does well. I would urge you, if you're watching this video, to also think about what gets people excited about playing flesh+blood in the first place, because ultimately, if you're trying to play a lot of flesh+blood and that's how you want to explore this aspect of the hobby, you really do need to have a strong community to play with.
Yep.
Because if you don't have the community to play with, like, it doesn't really mean anything if you're good at the game, and that's how games die out.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair way to look. Wait, what does this have to do?
What
with
does that have to do with Briar? So she was playing. So she was playing Briar.
Oh, okay.
And pretty funny. I think so she gets into top 8, an 8th spot. Her opponent doesn't want to play anymore.
Okay.
Just like concedes.
Yeah.
And then, so she gets the invite. You get an invite for top 4. So.
Oh, she did?
So it's great.
Okay.
But then her top 4 opponent, I think he had to meet up with his friend or his family or like something or the other. He had to go.
Okay.
So she got to the finals.
And
then the finals opponent also just like wanted to give Briar the last 2 points. And there was a post that I had read that had tallied up all of the supposed total wins that Briar got. And I believe that she should have been the 1,000th point.
Really?
Like the last 2 points.
But that is significant. But
unfortunately, apparently one of the European stores was trolling, and they had misrepresented the fact that Briar had won. And so now she has 998 points.
Okay.
And everyone is very upset.
Okay.
It's like a story. It's like the tortoise and the hare. It's like Briar like got all these points, like 800 or something points, real fast, and just cannot cannot close.
Yep.
Meanwhile, like slow Oldham just like accumulates like 100, 200 points every single season, and Oldham is gone, and
Briar's still here,
and I am upset because I want Rosetta Thorn to be out of the meta.
I thought you were a Runeblade guy.
I am, but you know what? Like, I think that like we need change.
Okay, but I mean,
and they won't print good Runeblade cards if Rosetta Thorn is still in the format, and that's my rant.
But don't they have like the Reaping Blade, and don't they have the Viscerai, the Nebula Blade as well?
It's not the same. I want them to give me Bloodsheath Skeleton back. Maybe if they ban.
That's non secular, man.
No, if Rosetta Thorn is out, maybe they'll bring back. But you never know.
I think Bloodsheath Skeleton was way ahead of its time, and its power level is just unparalleled. It's
just bring it back.
It's too gangster for what it does, And that plus, what is it?
Sonata
Arcanics.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You want to draw like 20 cards?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
That's what I want to do.
That's not going to happen, Yuanji. I'm sorry.
That's what I want to do.
It's not going to happen.
All right.
Okay, let's
Next.
agree to disagree. Let's move on.
Next topic. So they did their LSS.
He's working here.
LSS did their late 2023 organized play announcement.
Yep.
2 callings, additional callings that they announced. One in Taipei, one in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay.
I believe it's probably going to be in Fort Worth, not in Dallas. Every time there's Dallas-Fort Worth, but
yeah.
And also a slew of battle hardens that I, for the sake of time, we won't mention. But I did want to say one thing about this news. Yep. One, I think it's awesome that Taipei is getting a calling.
Yep.
And I'm happy that there's going to be another U.S. based calling.
Okay.
Really cool that Tokyo is getting a battle hardened.
Hell yeah.
Because that's kind of like the first step. I believe one of the European battle hardens had like the largest turnout. I think it was like 400 something people.
Damn. All that for a legendary. Wow.
Initially, before they got their callings, and this is just like a stepping stone. Whenever there's like an emergent region, I really hope that Tokyo Battle Harden is a huge success.
That's to put the pin on the map, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hope that Tokyo Battle Harden is a huge success, so that Japan gets more like higher level organized play events. I know that the Japanese community is very serious about TCGs.
Yeah, they are.
So I think that's very exciting. And the other Battle Harden that I wanted to talk about is Battle Harden St. Louis.
Okay.
And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it's being hosted by Fire and Forge. And
Mark, right?
Yeah, Mark.
Yep.
And they're like, hate him or love him. Fire and Forge has been a big vendor for Flesh+blood. They're at all of the higher level events.
We saw him at Baltimore. Yeah. Mark Nolan.
And I think that it is a really cool thing for me to see that LSS has a commitment to the stores and the vendors that are most committed to promoting and expanding their game in and out of organized play.
Okay.
Because it kind of takes me back to when I was grinding Grand Prix, kind of at the beginning of at the beginning of when I was doing it, like 2013, 2014, before Channel Fireball got like the big contract to like do all the events. Yeah. You got to kind of see like all of the local community stores try to do their best to grow out their community to like put themselves on the map, but then also get a shot at throwing these large events. And for players, like going to Battle Hardens, going to call-ins, whatever, that's like your shot at like getting to the Pro Tour. That's like your goal, right?
Okay.
But from talking to like store owners, for the store owners that are really invested in organized play, they're like running like Artians, ProQuest, whatever. They're trying to like generate like a lot of community turnout, and then they move up a step. Like maybe then you become like Realm Games or like the AGE. You're like make your own circuit. You like level up your tournament organizing game. Okay. And the hope is that LSS sees it and rewards you with the opportunity to run like a Battle Harden, like a calling. And there's financial incentives for the stores to do this, but also there's like a prestige level, right? Like there's something to
you're on that short list
aspire
of
to
approved LGSs that are competent enough to run events, and these are the rising stars within your region.
And I think that it's like an aspirational goal that exists that I think is really cool. That LSS seems to continue to reward. Like they just gave Realm Games like. They upgraded their events to like Battle Hardens, the PTI events. They're giving, like the other tournament organizers Battle Hardens. And I think if they do like a really good job, like maybe they'll upgrade that. Maybe they'll give them a calling in the future. Yeah. And I think a lot of people were a little bit hesitant on the fact that LSS hadn't really like aggressively expanded 2023 in terms of like the number of callings and such compared to 2022 and so on. But I think that after seeing how things are developing, I really believe that LSS is taking like a more organic growth approach to it. Yep. Letting these stores kind of establish themselves like, hey, like we are competent enough to like run events. And after after you see like, oh yeah, these guys know what they're doing, then you can, give them like a marquee event.
Yeah, I would say that it feels like how LSS is handling organized play is they're trying to mix and match and merge the best of both worlds, because you've got a very competent, very seasoned tournament organizer like Star City Games, right? So much better than the final twilight days of Channel Fireball again. But you also have people like Realm Games, Forge and Fire, and whoever else wants to step up to run these events and maybe mature into callings, because it seems like Star City Games can't handle the entirety of the United States, right?
Yeah, like they're mostly based around like East Coast, Midwest.
Virginia, I think.
Yeah. And they run, most of the events that they run are like East Coast, Midwest. And I would say that, like Star City Games also, like they, like currently the norm for most of the events that they run, like Calling Level, Battle Hardened, or whatever, they have a set schedule, right? Like these guys can't like run events like every single weekend. They have these are the events that we're booking out. We have also like Magic events, like whatever. They have the SCG cons, so they have like whatever events that they have booked, and it's great that to see that Flesh and Blood is like a big presence at these events. But like you said, like they can't do like they
can't do everything. Yep. And now there's these new up and coming players that are, with the support and backing of Legend Story Studios, they're gonna fill in those events and expand.
Yeah, and what I think is that I think it's a good thing for the players ultimately, because I know as a player who grinded Magic, like there's going to be good tournament organizers and there's going to be bad tournament organizers, but I would say that I think in general having competition makes it so that there are more good events than the other way around, where if you have no competition, then it just ends up being like a bunch of mediocre events. If that makes sense?
Absolutely, yes. And I just want to remind everybody, because a lot of people don't seem to know this and they don't recognize the unsung heroes in this process, but the person managing organized play or overseeing organized play in the US for Legend Story Studios, and I believe he was in Singapore, Trevor Baker, he was the former manager in the best days, the heyday of Channel Fireball events for the Grand Prix, right, and the Magic Fests. So that block of, call it, the best 6 to 8 years of MTG in the US was managed by him back in the day, and now he's at the helm overseeing organized play for LSS. So I'm very confident that he's going to continue to execute and do a really good job. And he loves the game. He personally loves the game of Flesh and Blood. That's why his store, when he was out of the whole CFB thing, that racket was called FaBled Hobby. Right? And now he's doing OP for Fab. Dream job.
Yeah, crazy for Trevor.
Yep.
Wanted to kind of last thing, shout out to, I guess, Team Dragon Shield. They're kind of killing it right now. 2 events.
Did that sound partially salty?
A little
Mr.
bit.
FaBled Runaway?
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit salty, but competition's always a good thing.
Yep.
So Pittsburgh Brawl was recently won by Mr. Isaac Crute.
Yep.
Somebody who I've openly, I've praised him as being, I think, one of the best players. And he took it down. I believe you have an item from him.
The spoils are in my hands.
Yeah, we might do a little quick opening.
Yeah.
So, a member of Team Dragon Shield won on Oldham at the Pittsburgh Brawl, one of the last CC events for this format.
Yep.
Another one of the last CC events in the format, there was a calling in Singapore.
Just recently, these past couple days before filming.
Yeah, Australia kind of killed it at the event, but I think out of the top 8, 2 members of Team Dragon Shield, Matt,
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, Matt Rogers and
Nick Butcher.
Yep. And you have some feelings about Nick Butcher, but he is undoubtedly the champion.
He is the champion. I got some feelings. I very publicly have called him a wanker, and I am not retracting that statement. He knows I address him as a wanker because of all the champions. Like, he's the saltiest champion ever. He's not gracious and defeat our victory. It's like, hey, Nick, you gonna give me a good price on whatever prize card? It's like, no, fuck off, Saint. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's a thing now. I guess that's the rapport we look. Isaac Crute can be nice. You know, Matt Rogers can be a decent guy, and give his buddy a swell deal. And even Tarek, like I hope Tarek wins some stuff and soon, but he's friendly about it. But Mr. Butcher, he's always, no, unless you're gonna give me like 10x what it's actually worth, then fuck off. So that's why Nick Butcher's a wanker. Now that said, I still respect Nick very much. He is the calling champion.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to the other finalist, LPT, Liu Peitong, I think is his full Taiwanese name. But LPT, we had interviewed him in a FaBled Hunters episode at that little cat footprint, So it's a really small world. Like, I would say that LPT, he just barely won in one of the most epic late game or semi-final matchups they said it was one of the most, spectacular games in Fab history, where I think LPT remembranced 2 of his last 3 cards when he was out of a deck, and Oldham had him down to literally no deck.
Yeah.
Right? Was that the case? Did you review it, or did you watch the game or read up on the details?
No, I was busy, so I hadn't been following the coverage. I was only following the text coverage.
Okay.
So actually, they're giving me an outlet. So like before, like you have to be like glued to like the stream or whatever to kind of see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But now like they do like a really good job with the live vlog. So I was keeping track of. I had 2 friends, Brody and Michael, were at the event. So I was trying to keep up with how they were doing.
Okay.
I think once I saw that they weren't in the make top 8, I just like kind of checked out.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Well, regardless, they went through like 2+ cycles. It was one of the longest games of that calling.
Mm-hmm.
It was Matt Rogers. It was LPT. It was like top 4, I guess. And Matt was at 2, and LPT had no deck. So the fatigue strategy was about to work.
Yeah.
And then I think LPT remembranced in 2 cards, which were arrows, and then killed him with an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that was supposedly a very spectacular finish. So again, shout out to LPT, but he fell to Mr. Butcher on the same deck. And also, honorable mention to Hayden Dale, who's also running Oldham of a similar deck.
I believe they were actually running the same deck.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Not. Well, you said a similar deck, but
Well,
I think they were
don't
actually
they
running
usually
the
have
same.
nuances of like 1 or 2 cards, just like Team Runaways did with KOTOR?
I'm not sure because I was reading what they were saying on Twitter, and they said like 3 out of 3 of the same deck.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if like it depends. I think it depends like how much ego you have. Matt strikes me as the type of guy where, because he's so busy with all of his other like ventures,
Okay.
I feel like if Nick is like, hey Matt, play this deck, I'd be like, okay.
Okay, whatever.
I just-
Yeah, because he's busy doing other
Yeah.
stuff. And Hayden's now kind of semi-pro. He's kind of moved on to casting and making other content, I think, right?
I wouldn't count that out, so I don't actually know. This might be breaking news, but I did hear that Arsenal Pass was looking to, kind of develop out at least somewhat sizable. I believe they wanted to err on the smaller end, competitive flesh and blood team.
Okay.
And part of that is, I think, to give Hayden a group to, try to do well at tournaments with.
Oh, really?
Because like having honestly, like as a player as a competitive player, like having a group of other people is so important to the preparation process. And I do feel like if Hayden was like only playing with Brendan and stuff, I believe for the last Pro Tour he had a business or not a business, like a work related conflict.
Yeah.
So he couldn't make it to the
But you're saying
for
he's
the last
coming
Pro
back.
Tour.
You're saying there's
he's not out of the game.
He's not out of the game?
He's not out of the game.
He's not hanging it up yet?
No. I don't
Okay,
think
well,
so.
he still got it, apparently.
Yeah.
He made top 8. So
still got it.
Three Oldhams that are all...
Yeah.
And 2 of them were Team Dragon Shield, so...
Yeah,
Go
I
Team
have
Dragon
a
Shield.
lot of respect for Hayden as a competitor.
Well, obviously, he made
Yeah.
top 8 in calling, right? So, yeah, is that about it?
I believe that's about it. We have been talking for an hour.
Yes, we have.
And
we're gonna, that's the episode, but we're gonna open this right after, so...
all right.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, and if you like what you see, give us a like.
Yeah, follow this guy on Patreon. We also make long game content on Patreon, which is more financial related. And I just want to open this pack now. So
All right.
like, comment, subscribe, twiddle that notification button. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we're gonna open this. Mr. Yuanji was actually at the Pittsburgh Brawl, so
Yeah.
I wanted him to enjoy opening the spoils of that event because he bled for that event.
So it says PTI side event 2023. You know, funny story about
Yeah.
this event. I couldn't play in Battle Hardened
Yeah.
because they were running the top 8 on the same day. My
Okay.
teammate Cody Williams, he played his top 4 match before me,
Mm-hmm.
got to get out just in time
Yeah.
to register for the Battle Hardened, and he, you know, made finals of that event. So
Oh, he did.
yeah, so could have been me if we swapped the order that we played the games in.
Oh, wow.
But in any case, I believe this is one of the first times that we're opening one of these, like...
What is that?
What is that?
It's for something else, another video, I guess.
Oh, well, this is one of the first times that we're opening one of the new gold foil packets. So, you know, since they've released, like, the what's it called? The drop rates and everything.
print runs.
So
Yeah.
I wonder what is going to be in here. It should be, I think, any random drop from any of, like, the ProQuest Season 1, ProQuest Season 2, like, any common or
Anything?
majestic. I believe so.
Oh, yeah, it's open. Yeah, it's
so
open
any,
season.
Any common, majestic. What do you want? Courage of Blade Hold? There's like any other majestics that you want?
I'm not searching for anything. I'm just happy to get a gold foil and
Okay.
hopefully in good condition.
So
Let's see. Let's see. Let's enjoy the surprise.
So
All right. Is that the back? That's the back?
9 plus.
9 plus. All right.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Null Rune Gloves.
No rune gloves. Is that playable?
Null Rune Gloves is playable in some decks right now. I think usually like Illusionist plays Null Rune Gloves.
Okay.
So
I'll take it.
it's not bad. Definitely one of the better commons.
Okay.
No Snapdragon Scalers, but you know.
Yeah.
Can't always get the best.
Can't always get the dub. We'll see how it grades out.
Yep.
Let's see. All right. That's it. Till the next gold foil.